Earlier today, Andrew Berry met with media, talked about the salary cap, creating space, but also matching talent to the coaches that you have and the schemes they want to play.
Yeah, it's a good question, Scott. I think really we look at really kind of two different mechanisms. We look at the cash that we want to spend, and then the cap is really an accounting mechanism for that. The rules are flexible. Whether it's releasing a player, trading a player, restructuring a deal, negotiating an extension. There are a number of different avenues to create cap space, and the approach that we would take would really be dictated by the opportunities in front of us. Go ahead. No problem. No, you've been trying a couple different times, so yeah. Honestly, I get asked this question every year, and to be honest, I think going into any year, there's a lot of uncertainty. I've come to realize just how much you don't know in terms of prospects as they transition into the NFL. I know every year there are good players and players that we would target, or players that will like the process, and that's no different than this year. But I firmly believe that there are going to be quality players every year, throughout the draft. So for me, it's always tough to talk about, maybe, whether it's, depth at the top, depth in the middle rounds, depth by position, because oftentimes we go and look back at those draft classes and it turns out a lot different than maybe we anticipate. So we try our best to go in with that, I guess that may be, intellectual humility, with the fact that, what we think today may be a lot different than how we see it down the line.
Andrew, how much, since he's gotten in the building, has Jim had a kind of an input and made his mark in terms of personnel and kind of game planning out what the next couple of months look like for you?
Yeah, so we've always been a firm believer, as a front office, in partnering with our coaching staff, and that has always been the case with Kevin. That will always be the case with our coordinators, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we are able to map personnel, strengths, skill sets to the offense, defensive, or kicking game philosophy. And that'll be no different than with Jim. It certainly does help that, having worked with Jim before and having some level of familiarity, have a pretty good sense of, what he wants in different, excuse me, different different parts of the defense. But that'll always be the case with our coaching staff. One second, Tony. Yeah, we would always stay in communication with our coaching staff or our coordinator for a decision like this. One of the first things we'll ask really any coach that is in the organization at the end of the year, evaluate their position group or evaluate their side of the ball, and then from there we'll have the meaningful strategic discussions as we modify the roster.